Hello everybody, it's Audrey. Welcome to day 17 of the Summer Scrapping Series. Today my guest is Mari Clark and she has a wonderful scrappy YouTube channel, so I will link it below. So today I am using a cut file, and this cut file is from Paige Evans, and I believe you can find it in her Silhouette store or in her Etsy shop, and it is filled with little fish. And I have cut it, I think this is actually a piece of her pattern paper as well from one of her collections. And it has kind of this like watercolory water look, which I thought would be perfect for a fishing page. And I am going to use almost every single little fish. And my first thing I'm going to do here is I wanted to mist the fish with a couple of the fish in different colors. So I'm just pulling off random fish. And the good thing about this cut file is that the fish are in three sizes. There's a small, medium, and large fish, and it's the same exact fish. So the large fish is the same no matter which direction it's pointing. So that's going to be easier when I have to go back and put the fish back in the cut file, which you will see. So I'm pulling out a couple different mists and just some scraps pieces of paper here because I don't want the mist to splatter. And I'm using some color shine and some shimmers and what else? I think mostly color shine and shimmers. And I don't end up using all of these. My favorite after these all dried were definitely the color shine because of the shimmer that it had in it, and you can see it in the close-up video or the close-up shots at the end. Just that it has that just metallic look to it, and I loved that. So I put those aside to dry, and I'm using this. I'm using all the bits here. So I'm using this cutout paper and the little fish, the negatives, and I pulled out a super old collection, and it's so old it's one-sided. That's how I think that you know that a paper collection is really old when it's one-sided. This is a basic gray collection from. I looked at the copyright on this. It was 2000, or not copyright, but the publishing date 2008. That makes this collection 10 years old. So very, very old. And I took this piece of pattern paper here that had these blocks of color, and I am just backing a couple of the fish. So I am not backing all of the fish. I am not going to show you all of this because if you work with cut files or you've watched my process videos before, you probably know how to do this. People do it different ways. Some people trace the shapes with a pencil and then cut it out. I just glue and then cut around the shape afterwards. That seems to work easiest for me. That way I can just cut kind of, I don't want to say haphazardly, but I don't have to be precise in my cutting, and I just cut around the shape so it's just not exposed through any open shapes. This piece of pattern paper to the top left that kind of looks like, well, I thought it looked like kind of like tie-dye. It looks awesome in these little fish, so I'm going to use a lot of that and kind of pick areas where there are certain colors. And then I am using a couple of the more solid pattern papers. I tried the stripe, but I did not like the stripe. It was too big of a stripe. So there you can see I have backed a whole bunch of the fish, and now I'm going to back this whole thing on a piece of cardstock. And my goal is to not be able to see the cardstock at all, but I wanted to use a darker colored cardstock because I'm going to be popping up a couple of the fish, and I just wanted a really, really thin, dark outline that you could see. This isn't going to make sense until I think I start going down the other fish, so you'll see what I mean here in a minute. And I realized I forgot to trim one of the little fish, so I got to pull it back and, I don't know, finagle that a little bit and glue that down. Actually, this kind of looks cool with the blue like that, but it's really busy because there's a lot of little fish on here. So there's the photo, by the way, of my daughter with the biggest perch yellow perch I have ever seen anybody catch. It was huge. I don't remember if we cleaned it or not. We typically don't keep and clean our fish, so we just throw them back, but we may have that one because that was a beauty. Anyway, I'm going back to the fish that I misted, and especially the citron green fish. Oh my gosh, I love that. And I'm just going to place these around in the negative spaces. Again, these fish that are fitting in here, they didn't come from these exact spots. That's why I said I was lucky that this cut file, like all the big fish were the exact same size and shape, even if I flipped them upside down. So that was definitely a bonus. They're very symmetrical. So I decided where I liked those to go, and now I'm going to go back, and here's where I'm going to pop those up. Oh, and my son just decided to come over. I forgot this happened. His tooth just fell out, and he had to come over and show me and put it right on my scrapbook page. So yay, Kyler. That's probably his 7th or 8th tooth that he lost. That one's been loose for a couple days, but yeah, so there you got to see his tooth, and nobody will ever see it again because the tooth fairy will probably come and take it tonight. Anyway, so I am just putting some pop dots on some of these fish, and I'm putting my misted fish back on top there, and I'm not going to show you all that, but now you can see what I mean by, like, when I popped it up, you can kind of see the dark outlines a little bit. So the negative fish that are still on my cutting mat, I'm going to put, well, I'm not going to put some of them. I am going to put all of them back on this page. And I'm not going to pop up all of them because that would have just been crazy and taken me forever. So I'm going to pop up a couple of them. And like I said, it's very busy, and I just wanted the rest of these fish to be very subtle. So you can see by putting the the dark cardstock in the background, it gives it just a little bit of a pop. But the fish itself still blends in with the pattern paper. And I left them on the mat just so that I could put them back relatively close to where they were, because the paper does have that ombre look where it's darker in the bottom and lighter on the top. And now, so I popped up a couple, and now I'm going to go back and just glue the others right to the page. However, when I glue them down, I'm giving the tails and the snout, is that what you would call it? The front of the fish, the lip area of the fish, just a little bit of a curl to kind of make them stick off a little bit more. So I just went through, added some dabs of glue to the space there on the cardstock, and I'm going to go fill all these fish back in. I'm not going to show you this whole thing either because it does, actually, it went by pretty fast. It went by faster than I thought it was going to go, but it was a little bit time consuming. But I knew while I was doing this that this was going to be, like, I'm not spending a lot of time embellishing because this is it. This is going to be most of the design because it's got a lot going on. So I love how that looks. It's super cool. However, I ran out of the big fish shape cutouts because I had misted so many of them and I didn't use all the ones I misted, so I should have thought that through a little bit. But I didn't want those dark fish up there at the top, and of course I had started putting them back in at the bottom. So I'm just going over with some gesso and kind of covering up that cardstock area. Why gesso and not white paint? Because I don't have any white paint. I'm out of it. So I'm just using some gesso just to kind of lighten down those dark areas. And the ones that are there that are really dark still, that's where my photo is going anyway, so I'm not too worried about those. So yeah, I think the gesso does the trick here and kind of blends in with the background. So, and that will dry, and there you go. It looks good. So a few teal and white splatters to kind of mimic bubbles, I was thinking. And I love the white on there, and I love the way the teal dries too, that color shine. I've said this before in my video, but that color shine and teal is my most favorite color and mist out of any brand and any color. So to kind of, I already have a lot of paper, a lot of color, a lot of shapes. So to soften the kind of edge around my photo, I am using, these are called mixed media sheets from ThermoWeb. I used to be in the ThermoWeb design team for a couple years, and I have a whole bunch. I stocked up on these because I love them. They're kind of like a fabric tissue paper, kind of like an interfacing if you sew. And I just love the soft edge that they add to a photo without adding color, and plus they add a little bit of texture, so they're super fun. And I had gone through my stash off camera and just picked out a couple stickers and little bits that I really thought might work. I mean, I'm really digging through my stash here. I wanted to bring in some circular elements because the fish are very, I don't know, kind of long and pointy. I thought circle elements would kind of stand out against the fish in the background. Plus, I thought they kind of reminded me of bubbles. So I'm going to do something circular on here. I will have a little label for my date. I don't end up using that one. Take that one off. So yeah, that's why I'm looking through some circular things. And then I realized that, I can't really use a lot of color here because the rest of the page is so colorful, so I'm going to try to stick with some things that are just white or blue and blend in with the background a little bit more. Even these cork pieces, the dark cork was just a little too much. And again, it's just because of all the stuff I have going on in the background. So I have a little shiny, it's like a metal tag. It says OMG. And those cork paste pieces, and then I pulled out some old journaling spots. These are old, I don't know if you remember Lily Bee. I used to love Lily Bee. Just some journaling cards, and I, again, going with the circle theme, cutting the circle shape there. I like those because they kind of look like waves, but I end up turning it around because the blue chevron was just a little too distracting. Not that the rest of the page is not distracting, but yeah, it just kind of clashed a little bit. Then I was looking for some sequins because I thought some sequins would be cool, just some little ones to put around the fish like bubbles. And I found these giant, they're called giant sequins. They're about 1.5 to 2 inches big, and they have an awesome shimmer to them. And I thought they're white. They're white when you look at them when they're not reflecting the light. But they just added a little sparkle and again another circular element. Plus they were kind of, well, they were white, so they didn't stand out too much except again with the lights on them. And some fonts that I'm mixing up there for my Go Fish. The green is Old Sassafras Lass, and that blue is from, I think, a Bella Boulevard collection, the words Go Fish. And then I have the other label is Amy Tan. So yeah, I have a lot of manufacturers in here. With these mixed media sheets, I use my tape runner, which, again, if you watch me, you know I don't use my tape runner a ton. I mostly use the liquid glue, but the liquid glue does not work very well on these mixed media sheets, so tape runner it is. I don't do too much else. I add the date, and I do add a piece of white twine to that tag that says OMG, and of course my journaling down there on the bottom. And I'm putting on a couple sequins here. They're kind of clear, but they have that iridescent look to them to make them look like bubbles. And that does it, I think. So this is, yeah, quite the mix of colors and patterns, and it's definitely a page about fishing. That's for sure. So there you can see, oh, there's that Heidi Swapp color shine on those green and blue fish. Love that. Oh, and that teal one there too. And you can see that shimmer there on that big sequin and that fun pattern from those old basic grade papers. So thank you so much for stopping by today for day 17, and I will see you tomorrow for day 18. And stay scrappy, friends.